I've used this method again and again because the only thing I did in that situation was make a decision to not need external validation and to really change my vibration more than anything else. When I started putting myself out there on social media and when I started my business, and I use it all the time in every area of life, that all I have to do is change my vibration around something. And the way to do that is to take no prisoners approach. Welcome to Big Energy. I'm your host, Kassi Underwood, here to give you a dose of that good energy and talk with people who do it best. Each week, I bring you the knowledge we need to be the forces of nature we came here to be. Today, I want to talk to you about breaking into a new vibration and what I like to call the take no prisoners approach to dealing with fear. I'm going to use the example of the fear of putting yourself out there. And I think one of the main fears going around today is the fear of putting ourselves out there on social media, fear of taking a stand, of talking about who we are, sharing what we're learning, even putting our pictures on social media can really freak a lot of people out. And it is the public square these days. It's where we have social conversation and political conversation. And so many of us have views that we're hiding and have experiences and aspects of ourselves that we're hiding, and we secretly want to bring them out and share them with others, but we're afraid. You can apply what we talk about today to anything in life, starting a business or a new creative venture, or maybe if you're an actor deciding you want the lead roles these days, or anything else. If I'm afraid to put myself out there at the level or in the context I want, what's important to know about the energy is that I have a fearful energy and I have doubt around being visible in a certain way. So what this take no prisoners approach is about is dealing with your fear of visibility and what to do around it. So the usual suspects' fears are crickets or being ignored, not being taken seriously, getting backlash and criticism, people thinking we're stupid or vain or we don't know what we're talking about or who do they think they are, or being condescended. And the vast majority of people will live within the confines of those fears and never challenge themselves to break free of them at all. They just decide that is my fear, and so these are the walls around my life, and this is how small I'm going to live. That's most people in this world. But I think anybody who's listening to this podcast is probably someone who's brave enough to push through their fears and to break through to the other side of them. And so that's really who I'm speaking to today, is people who don't want to live a small life and those who really want to live the life that you came to the planet to live. Those of us who are brave enough to admit it, that we're actually scared and that we're going to go for it anyway, what we need to be prepared for is what happens next. Because what happens next, at least half the time, when we do go for what we're afraid of, especially when we're putting ourselves out there, is whatever we were afraid was going to happen. So what happens is exactly what we were afraid was going to happen. Crickets, backlash, condescension, whatever it is. And in that moment, what most people do, and what I used to do, was turn back around, go home and watch Netflix and drink alcohol, or lay in my bed for 3 days crying. But the thing is, you can't get to the new vibration without breaking free of the old one. So we actually have to deal with the vibration that we're in. There's no other way to the goal, and that's where the take no prisoners approach comes in. And take no prisoners is about relentlessly pursuing the goal. So running across the battlefield until you get to heaven on the other side. But you actually have to run across the battlefield, and that's what most people don't want to do. So most people are going to reach the thing that they're afraid of, get the exact responses from the world that they expected, and then get really freaked out by that and turn around. The only thing that's ever worked for me is to face that, not expect for magic to happen without my input, not expect to be in a new vibration without doing what it takes to get into a new vibration. And what I've done is I've put on blinders and I've just gone for it. So I've become neutral around the feedback, positive or negative or nothing, and I've just gone for it. My experience is the minute that you don't care what happens or when it happens, And the minute you're not needing validation from anybody, that's the vibration of confidence. You're not relying on a thing to happen to make you feel like the real thing. You've just decided that you are the real thing, whatever it is, that you are worthy of using your voice, that you've got what it takes, that you do know what you're talking about, you're not confused, and you have something to say, and that it's okay for other people to disagree with you. It's okay for backlash to happen. It's okay for people to ignore you. You don't need to be published to consider yourself a writer. You don't need 1,000 likes to believe that what you say matters. The confidence comes from behaving esteemably. And what it means to behave esteemably is essentially to take actions that meet your own standards of excellence. And that's where confidence comes from. That's where self-esteem comes from. I used to think that self-esteem came from other people telling me I was great. And so I was constantly looking for other people to tell me that I was great. And even when it did happen, I had low self-esteem. But over time, if you're getting your self-esteem from behaving esteemably and from taking actions that are in alignment with your own standards of excellence, what happens is that you feel confident. And over time, that sends out a new vibration. So the way that vibration works is, and we talk about this all the time, but the way it works is that what you think creates how you feel. How you feel sends out a vibration. Your emotion sends out a vibration. And your vibration creates your third dimension, which is the experiences that you have in your life, everything that you see. Everything in your life is a decision, and it's based on a thought. A Course in Miracles says all thought creates form on some level. And positive thoughts are more powerful than negative thoughts. Thoughts of love are more powerful than thoughts of fear and scarcity. So don't worry about it too much. I know a lot of people go into a lot of fear, like, oh God, I've been so afraid. Now I'm going to manifest what I'm afraid of. In some ways, that is what we're talking about. But you don't have to withstand walking through your fear for that long. It's just that most of us, if we have a fear around putting ourselves out there, we're so sensitive to anything that appears to be confirmation of our fear that we get spun out into anxiety. And when I say we, I mean I. This is me too. If I have a fear around something, if anything looks remotely like it, my thoughts, oh my God, it's really happening, create my feelings. Oh shit, I'm going to die from this feeling. And it creates my actions, because our thoughts are also creating our actions. And then we have a whole vibrational feedback loop with the universe. And so the only thing that I've ever found that works is that take no prisoners, going for it regardless of how the world responds to you, learning to neutralize our fears by allowing other people to think whatever they need to think. Who cares what anybody thinks, honestly? Like, who the fuck cares? It has nothing to do with you. It's none of our business. And if we do think that anybody's thinking a certain thing about us, really accessing that Buddha mind or Christ mind with the deepest levels of compassion, and knowing that what they might be thinking or saying about you, positive or negative, has got nothing to do with you, and that it's their own suffering, and that you can have compassion for them and what they're going through. So on the one hand, it's having that compassion for the people that you assume are judging you. That's one way to neutralize your fear around what other people think. But on the other hand, knowing that however other people are reacting to us is a reflection of our own internal condition. So if people are giving us backlash or ignoring us, that is a reflection of our own self-doubt. And so what we need to do in order to create a new reflection or a new vibration, because the reflection is determined by our vibration, is simply to build confidence. So if you want to be free of self-doubt, if you want confidence, if you want to create a new vibration and a new third dimension, you're just going to have to keep going. That's how confidence is built. Confidence is not given to us. It's built by behaving esteemably. And you are the only one who can give yourself confidence. I've never found that somebody else can give confidence to me. I have to build it myself. And there's no amount of validation that can give me self-esteem. I'm a sober alcoholic. And for me, external validation is like alcohol. There is not enough of it in the world for me to feel satisfied. I could have all the external validation in the whole world, and I'd still be like, more, please. I have to build it from the inside. Ain't never gonna be enough of it. If you're a bad bitch who's ready to create a massive shift into abundance and ease around money, I've got good news for you. I officially reopened the doors to my popular program, Money Metaphysics for Maverick Women. It's a 6-month group program where you receive direct guidance from me, live calls, instant access to my 13-module course, Big Money Energy, plus a 2-day in-person retreat and tons of other live support and content. Learn more about the program at kassiunderwood.com/MMMW. Check it all out now and register at kassiunderwood.com/MMMW. I want to tell you a story. Back when I was in grad school for writing at Columbia, I really wanted to publish. For about 6 months, I'd submitted my work, and I'd gotten what felt like a million rejection letters. Was probably about 10 or 15 rejection letters from the bumfuck review. Like, it was nowhere anybody had ever heard of. And I just felt so bad about myself. I felt like I was just never going to make it as a writer. And like, what was I even doing getting into all this student debt at Columbia? And everybody else was publishing except for me. And every time I would get a rejection letter, I would crawl into bed and just cry for like 2 hours and wonder what was it all for, and should I just give up now, and maybe I shouldn't even go to class, but I'm already in debt, so I need to finish this degree. I mean, it was an entire drama in my mind. And I talked to my 12-step sponsor about it. I actually literally flew down to where she lived. I was in New York City and she was in Texas, and I flew down to see her because it was so painful for me to go through this experience. I'd always won all the writing awards when I was little, and I just thought it was going to be so easy. Once I got to the big leagues, New York City, I had all this self-doubt suddenly. And so we talked about it, and she was like, well, like, what are you going to do? Just quit writing? And I was like, no, I'm not going to quit writing. I mean, I guess I'm just going to keep writing. And she was like, yeah, you're just going to keep writing. I flew back to New York City, and I was like, I guess I'm just going to keep writing. Like, even if it takes me 20 years to get published, even if it takes me my entire life and I'm like on my deathbed, maybe I don't ever get published, but I just keep writing. And that's what I decided I was going to do. My sponsor sent me this email with the subject line, submit, submit, submit. So cute. And as I kept writing and submitting, I learned to not get my confidence in being a writer from publication, and just to get my confidence in the fact that I was already a writer. So it was a decision that I made that I was a writer without needing to be published to feel like a writer. So I decided to feel like a writer without having any external validation. Within 2 months, I was published in the New York Times. I hadn't changed as a writer within those 2 months. I'd changed as a person. I'd stopped needing publication to validate that I was a writer. The feeling of already being a writer, because I was taking those esteemable acts, I kept writing and submitting, created a new vibration, and publication became really easy. Within 2 months, not only was I published in the New York Times, but I had an agent and I had a few other publications in the works. And then I just became somebody who published my writing whenever I wanted to, and it wasn't a big deal. I've used this method again and again because the only thing I did in that situation was make a decision to not need external validation and to really change my vibration more than anything else. When I started putting myself out there on social media and when I started my business, and I use it all the time in every area of life, that all I have to do is change my vibration around something. And the way to do that is to take no prisoners approach. So submit, 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 write, regardless of what the fuck happens, without needing anybody to validate me. First, every time my fears were reflected back to me with rejection or people ignoring me or backlash or whatever it was, if I kept going, if I didn't quit, which is what most people do, I would break through to the new vibration and my dreams would come true. So the work I found is to validate myself and to keep going, even if other people don't like it, even if nobody notices, and to take no prisoners and relentlessly go for the new vibration until I'm there. So I hope this serves you. I hope you go for it, and I will see you guys next week. That was another episode of Big Energy with me, your host, Kassi Underwood. Were you into it? Go ahead and click the subscribe button and leave a review. You can also find me online at KassiUnderwood.com. See you next time. And remember, Money Metaphysics for Maverick Women, my 6-month program, is open for enrollment. Learn more and register at KassiUnderwood.com/MMMW.